Joining me now, Alexandra Pelosi and Enrique Morones, founder and executive director of Border Angels. Alexandra, I missed you out there. I was out there Friday for several hours, and what I noticed is, as the day wound down, as we got closer to 5 o'clock and people started to become, I think, a little more sure that no buses were going to arrive, there was a little bit of conversation between the two sides that happened at reasonable volumes. And basically, the protesters against the arrival of the buses, the most clear of them, were simply saying it's the illegal part of this that we're fighting, and what you were hearing from people who were supporting an orderly arrival of those buses and those people on the buses was a humanitarian expression of what should be done now. But I think during most of the day I was there was very little of that dialogue. Did you see any dialogue between the sides?
I thought it was just theater. I thought it was bringing out a lot of sort of the militant Tea Party, and then a lot of, there were pro groups, but they were going, everybody was shouting at each other, and it became just sort of a scene. It was sort of like, what did you do for the 4th of July? I went to protest at the Border Patrol station. It looked more like a party than an actual grown-up conversation. And what I think is important for people to realize is, you know, we really do have a humanitarian crisis. I mean, really, I've been there. You've been there. We've been on the border. And it's really serious, and we have real issues we need to start talking about. And I think when you see that, you see how much information is how much misinformation there is out there, and how much people really don't understand what's going on, so they're getting angry. And you're just seeing this anger that's just boiling over because people really don't have any grasp of what's really going on. And I think that's really we need some real information. That's what I think is missing here. I think we need to sort of have some grown-up adult conversation that we need our government to step in now and give us information on what's actually happening and what we're actually going to do about it.
Enrique Morones, the buses today apparently arrived without incident in San Diego. What's the difference between San Diego and Murrieta?
Well, there's a huge difference. I was in Murrieta for the first time ever last Tuesday, which is really a date that will live in infamy in the immigration situation in this country, because the whole world saw the American flag being banged against the bus and these racist individuals just screaming at the children and the mothers while the children were crying. But I don't blame them for the buses returning. The full blame needs to go to the police of Murrieta and the mayor of Murrieta, because those 3 buses could have easily gone through. I was standing right there. The police stopped the buses. So they don't want to have any of this show and tell anymore. It is a circus. A lot of these are members of the Federation of American Immigration Reform, a hate group, because a lot of those people were bussed in from other areas to protest. So when the buses were returned to San Diego, and another plane came a couple of days ago, and then today another plane came, we're a whole different ball game here in San Diego. We have received the buses, the children, the mothers with love. The 3 buses that came back from Murrieta on Tuesday, mothers and children spontaneously here in San Diego went to meet them at the Border Patrol station in the Chula Vista area here in San Diego. And that also brought tears to my eyes, but tears of joy, because it was so horrible what happened in Murrieta on Tuesday that could be our Rosa Parks moment. And as was mentioned a little while ago, there is a tremendous amount of misinformation out there. They're screaming, go back to Mexico, when they're not from Mexico. What part of illegal don't you understand? When there is no legal way. The people that are trying to come into this country that are undocumented have no legal way to come in. It's not like it was when people came through Ellis Island. It's a whole different situation. And we got to remember that since 1994, when the U.S. government put up a wall between Mexico and the United States, 10,000 human beings have died. And people don't talk about that. They don't talk about the abuse of the people and what they're suffering and so forth. But now that the child is in front of this issue, people from both sides of the aisle and people from all over the world, their hearts have been torn apart. And they're saying, how could we have done this? How could we be doing this to children? Some people are still staunchly in their corner, anti-immigrant, but most of the country isn't like that. So I believe that we're going to look back in time, and instead of Rosa Parks refusing to move to the back of the bus, these buses, when they backed up, really brought this whole issue to the forefront, with the children that are dying to come in here, literally dying to come in here. I've been to Guatemala. I've seen the train. It's a very dangerous journey. Most of the people should be qualifying for asylum or humanitarian visas, not all of them. So we as a country that have been in the Central America before, and not for the benefit of Central America during the Reagan years, these are the grandkids of those people from those wars back then. They should have more of a presence there, the U.S. NGOs and government. So if I'm in a really dangerous situation and my child might wake up dead the next morning, I should be able to go to the U.S. consulate office in Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and say, this is my situation, and get the visa. Because we, the border angels, we're the ones that are out there in the desert. We pick up the dead bodies. We see people desperately trying to come across the only way that they can. We don't encourage it. We tell them it's very dangerous. But we need to fix this broken immigration system. And in the meantime, let's take care of the kids while the adults figure out how to fix the system, which is taking forever, both sides of the aisle. But in the meantime, these are our kids. Let's show these kids that we love them. We want to protect them. We have Operation Teddy Bear, which we just started today. We had a binational concert on the border yesterday at Friendship Park with the San Diego Symphony on the U.S. side and the Baja California Orchestra on the Mexican side. It was beautiful. So we're showering these mothers and these children with love. I've been in touch with Customs and Border Patrol every day. We're going to be receiving some of these families when they're released after they've been processed. We already had one. So we could take them, house them for a couple of days while they go to visit with their family, a member here in the United States, and then report to court. So there is a way to handle it. But what we saw in Murrieta was the worst of the American spirit. What we're seeing in San Diego is the best.
Alexandra, all three of us have been to Murrieta, and the audience should understand that this facility is not in the center of town. It's kind of out on an edge, and it's a very it's a back road. It's a small back road that those buses had to go down, and it looked this weekend as if the police were probably embarrassed by some of the things Enrique had to say last week about them. It looked like the local police were determined to get the buses through if any buses arrived this weekend.
Well, you knew the buses weren't going to arrive. When you saw that freak show out front, there were more satellite trucks than there were actual real human citizens from Murrieta that were showing up. I mean, you had a lot of people from a lot of places, and a lot of them weren't locals. I was only looking to talk to locals, but you had people coming from LA. Remember, this is Orange County, and the politicals, you know, the politics of sending this bus into Orange County, people like to say San Diego, but this is actually closer to Orange County. So that's a totally different political dynamic. Of course, San Diego is much more open-hearted about it. And plus, you know, when you deal with the border situations, people that live along the border know how to deal with this. Orange County, they've never seen anything like it. So you knew that when you see the line of satellite trucks and you see the bongo players and the shouting about how Obama's destroying America, you know, all that noise, they were never going to let those buses come through there. They weren't that stupid. I mean, no politician was, I mean, whoever's in charge of sending the buses where they're going had to know you weren't going to bring buses into that freak show.
Yeah, it's about 65 miles from the border, and Enrique, it was when I was there, it was interesting to see how few people you needed to keep the kind of chanting going. It was not a lot of people, and it was hard to say, but my sense was of the small group that was there, really, when I was there, they may very well have been local people, but it's a town of 110,000 people. It's a very it's a very substantial population there, and what has to be said about the town is way over 99% of that town has avoided going anywhere near there.
But don't forget that what happened on Tuesday represented, I believe it represented Murrieta, and it represented these Minutemen, former Minutemen, because the Minutemen have been pretty much shut down, but the Tea Partiers and these neo-Nazi types, so they were there. And now the mayor is backtracking. Oh, that wasn't me. That's not what the town's all about. Well, what about the town hall the next day? The town hall the next day, we really saw it. So we've had people from Murrieta come down, and we've received more than 15 tons of supplies for these families. So let's see what happens. I hope this is the turning point on immigration.
Alexandra Pelosi and Enrique Morones, thank you both for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.